evening, boys and girls. Welcome back for Expeditions. We're glad you're here. Of course, Peter and I have to start with your word of the night. So we thought we would play a game. We've mentioned before that we like games, so I think Peter can handle this one. We'll see, though. If you watched a couple weeks ago with our craft, we'll see how Peter has improved his listening. But see if you can come up with tonight's word. So, Peter, we're going to play Simon Says. So if Simon says, you do it. Simon doesn't say, you don't do it. All right. Simon says, put your hands on your head. Simon says, put your hands on your shoulders. Simon says, put your hands on your hips. Simon says, wave hello at the boys and girls. Stop waving. Oh, good job, Peter. Simon didn't say stop waving, but Simon's going to say that right now. Have you boys and girls guessed what tonight's word is? I bet you have. Peter and I were kind of teasing that we should maybe sing for you guys, but I decided that probably wasn't the best idea. Obedience. Do you have that song going through your head now about obedience and spelling the word out? That was always one of my favorite songs. For those of you who've been in 4th through 6th junior church, you know Pastor Josh used to make me do that, and I'd have you stand up and all that fun stuff. But we'll have to wait till you're back to try that. Here's Pastor Josh.
I don't know. I think it'd be kind of funny if they sang, because then it would be recorded. We could be able to pull that back out at fun moments and try to embarrass her with her singing. But I only say that because I'm her brother, and little brothers like to be a little bit annoying to their older sisters. Some of you understand that. Some of you are the older sister and watching this and thinking, yeah, my little brother likes to be the annoying one. But we do like to play games, and games and sports are important. We enjoy them. They're fun. But a lot of times there's rules that are involved, and if you don't obey all of the rules, you could lose the game. You could be disqualified because you didn't obey each and every rule exactly. Think about this. One of the dreams of American children is to play baseball. It's called the America's game. It's the great American pastime. Growing up, I played lots of sports. I played soccer, I did basketball, I wrestled, and for 1 year I got to play baseball in high school, and I played Little League T-ball when I was growing up. Could you imagine being there, bottom of the ninth, final inning, your team is down, and you've got to go, and you have to there's 2 outs, and you are the last person up, and you hit the ball, all right, and you guys are down, and you run, and you're running around the bases, and you go, and you get the bases, and you come all the way home, and you're the winning run. You get there, and you slide in just in time. The catcher reaches down, tags you at the ball, but you know you hit the plate first, and the umpire calls you out. And you're like, what? How? I got here first. And the ump just looks at you and says, you didn't tag first base. And you're like, what? How did I miss? You missed one simple key thing, because you didn't follow the rules exactly, you lost. And that happens. We have rules and things that are set up in place that we're supposed to follow. And sometimes we don't follow them. A lot of times we have negative consequences. We're going to look at a story from the Bible tonight about a person who didn't quite exactly obey the rules like they were supposed to. I'm sure you've heard from your parents, okay? This is the saying that I heard all the time when I was a little kid. All right, obedience is doing what you're told, when you're told, with the right heart attitude. Okay, we've got to do exactly what we're told and when we're told to do it. Mom comes in and tells us to take out the trash. It's not, okay, Mom, I'll do it later and maybe get around to thinking about it eventually. No, you're supposed to stop right then and do it now. Okay? And there's rules. Maybe you've been at school before and the teacher hands you a test. Okay? If any of my students, and I know my students are older because I teach high school, but if you asked any of my students, I can be a bit picky when it comes to taking the test and following the rules written in the instructions. All right, more than one of my students has done very poorly on a test because in the sentence, I teach English, okay, and it says to underline the misspelled word. So what did they do? Yeah, they circled it. That was not the instructions, but they did it. They identified the wrong word, but they didn't underline it. And then my mean teacher face comes on and says, you didn't follow the instructions. It's wrong. Okay, and it's not fun to do that as the teacher, okay? But the instructions must be followed. We can think of many examples. If I were to ask you, can you think of someone from the Bible who didn't quite follow the instructions and it ended up hurting themselves and other people? Okay, the first one that comes to your mind might be a guy like way back at the beginning called Cain, who God had given him instructions of how to offer sacrifices, and he maybe didn't do it the right way. Kind of affected his brother Abel too a little bit. All right. We're going to look at tonight, though, is an event that happens in the book of 1 Chronicles. It's recorded in 1 Chronicles 13, 1 Chronicles 15. At the beginning of 1 Samuel, we see a guy named Samuel, all right, whose the book is named after. We actually just talked about him on Sunday. And he received instructions from God that there's going to be a defeat of Israel at the hand of the Philistines, and the Philistines are going to take something. The Philistines take the Ark of the Covenant. The Ark of the Covenant was this special piece of furniture that was inside of the tabernacle. This was where the 10 Commandments were kept, and it was the symbol of God's covenant with the nation of Israel. It was the most important piece. On top of it, it had the mercy seat where the high priest would go in once a year and offer a sacrifice for the people. It was by far the most important piece of furniture in the tabernacle. But the sons of Eli took it to battle, and the Israelites lost, and the Philistines grabbed it and took it. When they took it to their cities, and they thought this was a wonderful thing. And you could read through there and beginning of 1 Samuel, and it shows how God punished the Philistines for taking the Ark of the Covenant. Eventually, they're like, we don't want this thing. This is a horrible thing. We want to get rid of it. And they put it in a cart, and they sent it back to Israel. However, the Ark of the Covenant never made it back to Shiloh, the place where the high priest and the tabernacle had been. It was stored at a house of a man there, and it was going to stay there until the reign of King David. So we go through, fast forward from 1 Samuel all the way into 1 Chronicles, all right, and David is now the king. And he wants to, once again, his goal, he wants to build a temple, a house where the people can worship God. Now, God has told him that he wasn't going to get to do it, but that his son, Solomon, would. So he's going to do everything he can to get it ready. He lays up a whole bunch of stones. He lays up a whole bunch of gold and a whole bunch of everything else to get it ready for his son. And one of the things that he wants to do is to bring the Ark of the Covenant from where it was being stored, and he's going to bring it to Jerusalem, the capital city, where all the people of Israel could gather together and worship God. This was going to be an exciting event. All right? They were going to host a parade. Now, I don't know about you, but I love parades. Probably for the main reason that most of you love parades. I'll give you a second to think about it. Can you remember the last time you had a parade? Yeah, the reason I love parades isn't for the musical instruments, isn't for the cool floats, isn't to wave at all the people going by, though that's kind of fun. I go for the free candy, all right, or the coupons maybe that they're handing out as they're walking past. Okay, maybe they're throwing out frisbees and hitting around beach balls or whatever I can get for free. That's why I love going to parades, but especially the candy. Well, I don't know if they handed out candy on this parade or what treats I'm going to give them, but they were planning a parade, and they're going to take the Ark of the Covenant from where it was being stored and bring it to Jerusalem. And David was so excited. He couldn't wait to bring the Ark of the Covenant to Jerusalem, the capital city. But there's a problem. God had given, back in the first 5 books of the Bible, when Moses was setting it all up, God had given specific commands how to move the Ark of the Covenant. It was supposed to be carried by the priests. The Ark of the Covenant had rings put on the side of it that they could take these sticks that were covered in gold. The priest could, and then they would hold those sticks. They wouldn't touch the Ark of the Covenant. They would take those sticks and they'd carry them on their shoulders, and the priests, that's how they were supposed to move the Ark of the Covenant. Those were the specific instructions that God had given. However, we see that David didn't quite follow those. The Bible doesn't say why he didn't follow them. All right, David was the king. David should have known the rules that God had placed and put there. But David, in his excitement, maybe he just forgot. That kind of happens to us occasionally, right? We get excited about something and we maybe forget all of the instructions that mom and dad give. Okay, maybe mom and dad have told you you're supposed to clean the house and do all these things because grandma and grandpa are coming over. And you kind of like only listen to the last part of that, like grandma and grandpa are coming and they're going to probably like bring candy and stuff or bring cookies or whatever, and you maybe kind of forgot all the instructions mom and dad gave. Yeah, okay, so maybe that's why David forgot all of his instructions as well, but David had a different plan. He wasn't going to do it God's way. The Bible doesn't say why he didn't, but he didn't. He got what he thought was a really good plan. Because once again, the Ark of the Covenant is this holy piece of furniture that was the most important thing in the tabernacle. So David's like, we're going to get a brand new cart, like a perfect cart. Okay, like this thing is going to be absolutely perfect. There's going to be nothing dirty on it. That way we can keep the Ark of the Covenant perfectly clean. We're going to sit on this. We have the best oxen. They're going to pull it and we're going to take it. It's going to go down the middle of the street as best as possible. The people are going to stand on the side of the road. Everyone's going to cheer. Everyone's going to yell. It's going to be amazing. But a cart wasn't the instructions God had given. When God gives an instruction, we should listen. Once again, obedience is doing what you're told, all of it, when you're told and with the right heart attitude. David didn't do what he was told to do. It wasn't wrong that he wanted to take the ark to Jerusalem. That was actually a part of God's plan because it's going to be part of the temple when Solomon builds the temple. But David hadn't listened to all of the instructions. So they get in, they put on the ark, they put on the cart, and they start taking the cart towards Jerusalem. And the roads they were on are kind of like some of the roads here in Detroit. They had some potholes, and it was kind of a little bumpy. Okay, I don't know if you've been on some bumpy roads here in Detroit, like all of them, okay, and you're going, and it gets some kind of bumpy, and the cart, okay, didn't have awesome shocks built in, okay, it didn't have like an air ride support system. It was bumpy. Okay, think of riding in the back of a wagon. Okay, maybe you have a little like Red Ryder wagon at your guys' house, or a Red Flyer wagon, and you're going, maybe you're like your older siblings pulling you, like bumping along the sidewalk, okay? And then your older siblings like, oh, I'm gonna do this real funny, and they turn really fast and they flip you out of the wagon. Yeah, that's awesome. And so the wagon gets bumpy and the Ark of the Covenant becomes unstable. So one of the men that were there that had helped house the Ark of the Covenant reaches out to try to stabilize it, because if it falls out, that's a big problem. So he reaches up, and as soon as he touches the Ark of the Covenant to stop it from falling, instantly he dies. Like, not, oh, I feel sick, oh. No, like, boom, drop dead, gone immediately. Why? Because God had made it very clear. Even when the priests put in the golden rods into the side of the ark, they were not to touch the Ark of the Covenant. No one was supposed to touch it. But Uzzah was just protecting it. It was David who hadn't followed the instructions. That happens to us sometimes. Sometimes we disobey, but other people get hurt. We know maybe mom and dad have a rule that we're not supposed to play with balls inside the house because we might break something. Okay, and so you're there and you're throwing the ball back and forth, and you have a sibling that walks across and they're not paying any attention and they're thinking, I'm just walking through the living room. There can't be anything wrong. And you're tossing a ball to your other sibling and you hit them in the side of the head. All right, and they're like, oh, why'd you do that? Okay, and then more than likely, because everything happens with bad luck, the ball bounces off their head into mom's expensive vase on the counter and breaks it, okay? But sometimes other people get hurt when it's our sin, when it's our disobedience. And that's what happened here. David had done the sin, and yet Uzzah was the one who died. At that moment, David stops the parade. He gets upset, and God's like, why are you upset? You disobeyed. From that moment forward, David changes everything completely. They stop the parade, and they readjust, and they say, okay, what did God want us to do? They go, they get the priest, and they carry it the correct way. And when they do it the right way, God blesses them. So what can we learn? What can we learn from this? And hopefully, hopefully that we don't have to worry about reaching out and touching something and dying like Uzzah did, but there are instructions that God gives. So the first thing that we can learn is that God gives us rules in His Word, in the Bible. The Bible gives us instructions of how to live life, and we need to do it the way God says it. Second thing that we can learn is sometimes our disobedience, it doesn't just affect us. Sometimes you think, oh, it's just affecting me. It's about me. But we don't see how this sin is hurting other people. Our sin, our disobedience hurts our parents. Our sin, our disobedience hurts our teachers. Our sin, our disobedience hurts our friends and those around us. But third, we can see with the end of this story that when we do things God's way, when we do things the way that God has described them and how to do them in His Word, He will bless us as He blessed David when David did it the right way.